up on CTV News tonight, meningitis worries in Christchurch and problems with rebuilds in Maryvale. Welcome to CTV News, I'm Emily Cooper. Health officials have ruled out a link between 4 meningitis cases in Canterbury, but say people should still be aware of the disease. Health authorities have found no link between 4 meningococcal cases, but people still need to be vigilant of the disease after Fulton Hogan CEO Bill Perry died from it on Saturday. It was originally thought there could be a link between the teenagers of the adults affected, as adults rarely contract the disease.
So what we're thinking is there is a possibility that there is somebody in the age group of late teens, early 20s who is an index case, and there of course is a risk they might transmit that to other people.
A woman in her 40s is still recovering in Christchurch Hospital, while a Dunedin baby has made a full recovery, and another man who was in meetings with Mr Perry last week is still in Dunedin Hospital. Health authorities have given antibiotics to close contacts of the infected patients to reduce the risk of developing the disease. Yesterday, Mr Perry hadn't been ruled out as the original source.
No, we haven't ruled him out as the original source, but it would be very unusual. So what we're doing is we're making sure that there isn't another source for this illness, and we won't rest until we're absolutely sure that there isn't another source.
However, health authorities found no link between the cases, which they were investigating to prevent the disease spreading. Despite there being no link, people still need to be aware of the disease, with symptoms taking up to 10 days to emerge, some carriers not displaying any at all.
Unfortunately, the symptoms for meningococcal disease are quite vague symptoms: headache, fever, the kind of things you might get with flu. The more serious symptoms like photophobia, looking at bright lights causing pain, or stiff neckness, neck stiffness, tends to come on later on. But if you have flu-like symptoms, you should always go to your doctor and get it checked in case it is something more serious.
The cases, proving the oldest advice, better safe than sorry, very valuable. Some Maryvale residents are upset at plans to rebuild earthquake-damaged shops differently to how they originally were. Some Maryvale residents are upset at the lack of communication for plans for new shops on a busy Maryvale street. The original shops had to be demolished after February's quake, and residents say they were not consulted on plans to build new, different shops.
There's an application in to put up 6 shops on the ground floor when there were previously 5 shops, and it looks like there's going to be a second-storey office premises, which effectively is going to substantially increase the square meterage of commercial space on this corner, which is great to see a rebuild in such a hasty manner, because clearly we really want that in Christchurch. But our concerns aren't so much with the tenancies of the re-establishment of the business or even the visual impact of it. It's really the safety of this corner.
Mr Ainsley says residents are happy to see the shops being rebuilt, but the plans are different to the original shops.
Our main concern just presently is the fact that prior to the earthquakes of September and February, it was a really busy corner. There's 11 schools just in and around this neighbourhood. A lot of children come through here, and there's always been considerable issues with parking. By increasing the meterage of the commercial spaces and putting in more shops, with little to no regard from what we can see from the council with regards to parking and or traffic management on a very busy corner like this, we're fearful that something untoward might happen to someone's well-being.
He says he's had a lot of feedback from concerned residents. Mr Ainsley says there's a lack of information and says more planning needs to be done so that safety is a priority. He says there are still a number of things that need to be done before the building goes ahead.
Watch the council closely to make sure that they don't rush at this, to perhaps reinstate what was here first as it was, and I think the community at large really wants these shops back. They're quite historical. They've been here since 1929. A lot of people in this neighbourhood are very, very happy to see them coming back. But to turn it into a 2-storey commercial precinct, it's not really cricket.
Fendalton Waimari Community Board member and local resident Faimi Burke says she and other council members have received a number of emails from residents worried about car parks, safety and mainly the fact there was a lack of consultation. But she says the decision for notification had not been made by the council, therefore it was not a legal matter for the council to inform community board members.
And they think that's not a minor issue as it was suggested in the application, and it might affect their properties, their life and their everyday life hugely.
She says residents were not informed by the council.
As far as I know, no, a lot of them, they didn't know what's happened. They heard it just somehow they heard it, and I didn't know, and I was told by the Maryville Christian Society and some of the residents.
A magnitude 4.2 earthquake struck Christchurch early this morning. The aftershock hit at 3:08 a.m, 20 kilometres east of Christchurch at a depth of 9 kilometres. There were no reports of damage, but 194 people reported feeling the quake on New Zealand Quakes. It was the largest aftershock to hit the region in more than a week. Coming up after the break, we get the latest from Orana Wildlife Park. Welcome back. Yet another major Christchurch landmark will fall in the next few weeks. This time it's one of the grandstands at Addington Raceway. Built in the early 1960s, the stand has been a vantage point for thousands of racegoers. With Cup Day looming, it's expected the stand will be replaced with a more relaxed area of tents and lawns for the race fans to enjoy. The reduced seating likely to be no problem, as many overseas and North Island punters aren't expected to attend due to the lack of accommodation in Christchurch. Demolition on the stand is due to start on Monday. And the Countdown Kids Hospital appeal kicks off this week to raise funds for Christchurch's wards in hospitals around the country. The annual campaign is run by Progressive Enterprises between August the 1st and October the 30th. The Christchurch launch was held this morning at Christchurch Hospital. The appeal has raised almost $4 million in the last 4 years for children's wards around the country. Canterbury District Health Board has received about $400,000 over that time for its paediatric department to purchase items such as an informative DVD for children going into hospital, glucose monitors, intravenous stands and accessories, and a range of other equipment. Nationwide funding activities will include an in-store raffle, a knit-a-thon supported by checkout collection boxes, and donations from selected product sales, and online countdown shoppers can also add a donation onto their shopping bill. And Orana Wildlife Park is struggling after the recent quakes, with losing their overseas visitors. Gracie Fee found out how they're coping.
Orana Park is struggling.
Oh, it hasn't been an easy time at all. When the quake struck on the 22nd of February, we instantly lost what's traditionally 45% of our visitors, and that's people who visit from elsewhere in New Zealand and overseas.
They've had to cut 10 full-time staff, and the biggest capital project in their 35-year history, New Zealand's first gorilla exhibit, which was announced just before the February earthquake, has been put on hold.
Sadly, that project is delayed, but we're definitely not saying that it's over. Gorillas, we will still have the first gorillas in Christchurch. Sadly, due to the quakes and the snow, etc., it's just not going to be as soon as we had planned.
And with gate takings low, the $2 million needed to fund the project won't arrive anytime soon, but they're remaining optimistic.
Christchurch is not top of the holiday destination list at the moment, but we know that that will change and things will come right. And I know that our fellow attractions have made the hard decisions they'd have had to make, just like we have. And we're determined to survive, to ensure that there's still really great things here for people to come and see in Christchurch when they feel a little more confident to return.
The plus side is they've picked up more of the local market, especially with a membership initiative which offers a year of unlimited visits for the price of 2 adult tickets.
the membership means that it pulls the pressure for people off needing to see absolutely everything in one day. We have 400 animals set on 80 hectares, so we know there's a lot to see and there's a fair distance to cover, so the membership's just a perfect way to be able to have a bit of a more relaxing visit, if you like, and also enjoy the changes that people see over the year. So behind us we've got our rhino calf. He's obviously not going to get heaps bigger through the year, but people would see a lot of change if they keep visiting over the year. So there's many benefits to it.
But the dropping of ticket prices to entice visitors is not an option. The food bill for those 400 animals is around $200,000 per month, and keeping hungry tummies full is reliant on gate takings. So at $25 per adult, it's cutting it slim.
The gate takings is what feeds the animals and keeps the park afloat. And so, therefore, throwing open our doors for free, I'm afraid, is just not an option, because these animals are priceless. They're endangered species. They take specialist care and they're all on expensive diets, etc. We do actually need the money to keep the animals well and fed.
Out-of-towners made up almost half the park's visitor numbers and usually came during the week, but with people reluctant to travel to Christchurch, Monday through to Friday is extremely quiet.
Traditionally during the week, that was when our overseas visitors and our visitors from around New Zealand came to the park to visit, and of course since those market segments aren't coming in large numbers, during the week is a very quiet time. And so hey, if locals have got a day off work, you can have a real one-on-one experience with the animals because there's not too many people here.
So the animals may be getting some peace and quiet, but will be missing the abundance of eager visitors holding out their feed.
Ex-MP for Rakaia, Brian O'Connell, has returned to Christchurch from Australia and is very vocal about the lack of process in the recovery.
I've been driving around the city in the last couple of days, Rob, and just the infrastructure, when you look at it, you think this is sort of third world country, and it's not the Christchurch I remember, and of course it's not going to be the same, but you have to say after 6 months, why hasn't there been more action? And from afar I've watched the Mayor perform on television. He's been very good, but I've sort of come to a conclusion that Christchurch probably doesn't need a show pony, it needs a Churchill, because this is a war zone. It is something that is pretty acute. And the other observation I'll make is, why this, I can't find a better phrase for it, Rob, but this great bloody phallic symbol called the Grand Chancellor Building, it's mocking people of Christchurch. Why hasn't that been brought down? They managed to do it in places like New York or Chicago. They drop buildings when there's others close by it. If it's an expense, then they should front up and just say that's why they're not doing it. Because I don't think the heart of Christchurch will be put right until that building comes down. And the spirit of Canterburyans must be bleeding, and they look at that, and I just feel they're being mocked by it all the time. And that's the impression I got driving around yesterday.
We understand that, for example, the council hasn't come out with the specs for the new sewerage pipes, the replacement ones, so therefore the manufacturers can't get stuck in and make them.
Look, I was hearing those complaints yesterday as well, and again, that's why I'm making the observation that we need men and women of action now to actually get things done, because we shouldn't be living under these circumstances any longer. I think people are being reasonable, I think they've been patient, but enough is enough.
Coming up after the break, your local weather. Welcome back. Here's an update now with what's happening in Canterbury over the weekend. Hi everyone, welcome to What's On. Firstly, from 10 until 1 on Saturday, the Lincoln Farmers and Craft Market is on at the Lincoln Community Centre. Demos will include wool spinning, jewellery making and craft stalls. Also on this weekend is Make Your Own Cheese in a Day workshop, which is designed to teach you all you need to know about making cheeses in your own kitchen at home. The workshop focuses on the techniques for making blue cheese, and they'll also show you how to make ricotta, mascarpone and Greek-style yoghurt. For more information or to book online, you can go to www.newzealandcheesesschool.co.nz. Now, it's $119 per person for the day-long workshop, which starts at 9:30 and runs both Saturday and Sunday on Fitzgerald Ave. Now, Cashmere High School students, along with Stephanie Rumble from Flair Image, have put together a fashion event in a fundraising effort for an educational trip to Chile in October. Stephanie will be fronting the evening, which will feature a teen fashion show and styling makeovers, as well as providing plenty of take-home style tips for the audience. A free glass of juice or wine and supper is provided, along with spot prizes, raffles and auctions. Doors open at the Cashmere High School Performing Arts Centre at 7 p.m. on Saturday, ready for the show to start at 7:30. Adult tickets are $30, while high school students are just $20. And for ticket information, you can contact Heather on 337 5153. That's 337 5153. And McLean's Island Park is holding an orienteering day on Sunday. There will be 6 courses ranging from very easy to those requiring experience and a compass. If people go as a group, they'll just pay the one fee at the rate of the youngest member plus $3 for a tracker. The registration area will be signposted from the road and entrance to the main car park. Non-members are $6, $10 or $20 per group depending on the course, plus $3 for sport event hire. And the Oxford Township is holding an extravaganza of recycled, second-hand, vintage treasures and odds and ends this Sunday. Maps are available from the information tent next to the Oxford Farmers Market, Main Street, Oxford, from 8:30 on the day. If you've got any events you'd like us to mention, you can email me, emily.cooper@ctv.co.nz, or you can call us here at CTV on 3777 033. See you next week.
A local gun shop has taken an excellent design for a rifle and made it better by using local manufacturing.
30 years ago, you had all sorts of choices, but the Ruger has really proven its worth to such an extent that we decided, inspired by others' modification, to make our very own version of a Ruger 1022. So the original receiver is very cheaply made in a die mould. So consequently, it has tolerances which are greater than you can achieve if you machine the receiver from a solid block. This is the receiver that inspired us. It's made by the same people who make the mighty Magnum Research Desert Eagle pistols. And
that's a mouthful.
Yes. Once we saw the advantages that they were able to offer us by machining the receiver themselves, we said, well, let's do it in New Zealand. So, hey presto, the Gun City 2010-22. So this receiver holds the barrel tighter by using both the scope mount and the bottom of the receiver to clamp the barrel. It's got much tighter tolerances internal, and internal measurements are parallel as opposed to being tapered on the old die-cast model. And we've got an integral scope base, and this makes the action really rigid, really strong, and gives you the ability to use all decent types of mounts. Any kind of high-power rifle mount will fit on this receiver.
It looks a bit lower than the silver one.
Yes, we reduced the height of it so that instead of having to lift your head up to look through the scope, as soon as you nestle in there, it's perfect. You're looking straight down the middle of the scope.
So basically you've done what motor racing people have done for years. You've got a really good design and then you've made it a New Zealand one.
That's exactly right. It's much easier to reinvent somebody else's wheel.
So that's the basic part of the gun?
Mm-hmm. This is what is actually called the firearm. This is the receiver. It's this bit that everything else attaches to. It's this bit that's numbered, and it's this bit that you need a license for.
The running bits?
The running bits we assemble from American-made parts, and so this is the rifle made up. We have an American stock, we have some American and some New Zealand internals, but with this one here, we're really excited that we have a New Zealand-made barrel. Now, we have managed to make barrels better than anybody else can make barrels, and we've added to that barrel a full barrel silencer. Everybody else makes their full barrel silencer out of alloy or steel, which of course makes it a little ugly and a little heavy, but we've gone Kevlar on the outside of the barrel and alloy on the receiver. So you've got it short, you've got it light, and you've got it really quiet. This is the best full barrel silencer that we've ever seen.
That's CTV News for tonight. I'm Emily Cooper.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.